first set of EPZ IEMs that I'm reviewing, and although they're a fairly new company, they can stand up to a lot of the more experienced companies out there. Thank you to the folk at EPZ for making this review possible by sending me this demo unit. All thoughts and opinions are my own. So let's jump straight into how these are built. The unboxing experience is fairly straightforward and to the point. You get everything you really need in the box. You get the IEMs, the cable, small, large and extra large ear tips, the literature, and they also include a carry pouch for the IEMs, which is always nice to have. The IEMs have a resin-like faceplate which protects the EPZ branding under it with neatly done coloring in each IEM. The housing is a 3D printed resin enclosure, which is EPZ's forte, and these have a few contours to sit in your ear comfortably. I found these to be very comfortable to wear even over longer listening sessions. The lower side of these IEMs have the model name printed on them with a marking for each ear it should pair with, and the rear sections have a gold divot which are venting ports which help with how these IEMs stage and handle the lower frequencies. And moving on to the cable, it's a braided copper one with a 0.78 mm connector at the side where it meets the IEMs, and the other end is terminated to a 3.5 mm auxiliary connector. The version I have doesn't come with a microphone, but you get the option of getting one. The terminations on this cable have metal grip points. Usually you'll see plastic being used, so this does give a more premium feel since they're usually cool to the touch. These come with 10 mm dual cavity dynamic drivers, have a frequency response of 20 Hz all the way up to 20,000 Hz, and have an easy to drive lower resistance of 32 ohms. On a volume front, I found myself listening to this at around 20 to 25% volume. It's pretty comfortable there, but if you want a little more fullness, pushing up to about 30% volume should be just about alright. But when I push on over to about 35 to 40%, it can get a little too loud for me. So I wouldn't recommend listening to this for prolonged periods of time over 40% volume if you intend on preserving your hearing. Now, lower down in volume, it's bound to thin out, which is expected from any audio equipment. So the minute you go down below 15 and 10%, there is a lot of depth that does start to thin out. When it comes to its soundstage, I was quite impressed with this one's performance because it does have a wider stage than I was expecting. So some tones do appear to come slightly further out of the IEM, but this does depend on the kind of recording you are listening to. This also does have a slightly vertical stage as well. So I mean, it's not too vertical, but it exists maybe at your eyebrow level from ear to ear. So it does have reasonably good height. The width of it, I mean, like I mentioned, it's pretty good coming at you from slightly further out, but it does have good left and right separation and good phantom channel as well. Now, your overall experience with soundstage will rely a lot on the kind of recording you're listening to, how well it was mixed, and also the hardware you're listening to, because these are slightly transparent when it comes to these things. So make sure you've got a good recording and good hardware as well, so that your experience is the best that it can be. When it comes to the imaging, these actually detail very well. It's very easy to pick out your nuances and really enjoy your audio. The detail in them is, I wouldn't say super sharp, so it's not going to really cut through your ear and pierce you. At the same time, it's not mellow. It is well defined. A lot of brands tend to tweak the high frequencies to give you an emulation of better detail. I like that EPZ has not done that. So they have not tried to take any shortcuts, but these drivers genuinely do detail very well. High frequencies can certainly get a bit peaky in certain regions, but this range does carry a good amount of detail without piercing your ear. There's a good sense of energy here, so shimmers, percussive instruments, echo and reverb are carried over well here without leaning towards being aggressive. I can see someone who is sensitive to this range cringing a bit, but if you're not sensitive, these do have a sharpness to them that does give you a sense of good detail here. But I do wish it was slightly warmer sounding over here. Listening to Welcome to Jurassic Park, performed by the Danish National Symphony Orchestra, there's an ensemble of rich percussion coming at you with these IEMs pushing out every bit of detail from triangles, chimes and cymbal crashes. If you're into classical music, these certainly do have a rich delivery here. Mid frequencies do have a little too much of a tweak in the upper mid-range, so these can lean towards being a little too sibilant with some recordings. This upper mid boost could have been brought down for certain, at least for my taste in music, because plosives come at you with a little too much exertion. This tuning also tends to make female vocals a little more forward than male vocals. Male vocals do have a recess and tend to sound like they're coming at you from a bit of a distance. This does help with giving you a little more dimension in your music, and I do wish a similar tuning was done for the upper mids. It should have taken care of the sibilance and made female vocals a lot less forward. Listening to Josh Tatofi perform Never Never Never, this beautifully recorded track does carry on over to you with a good amount of separation between his vocals and instrumentation instruments and is actually a very enjoyable listen until you move on to anything with female vocals. Listening to Let It Go performed by Irina Menzel makes it very prominent how a female voice can really cut through and get a little too pitchy with these IEMs. If you're open to EQing your IEMs, pulling this range down will certainly improve with the aggression in this range. When it comes to the lower frequencies, I found these IEMs to be very sensitive with regard to the placement of how close or far it is to your eardrum. The further in they are, the less enthusiastic they are in the lower frequencies, and the further out they are while maintaining a seal, the more exuberant they are in the bass. This little bit of tweaking I found to work well for different genres of music. When I listen to classical instrumental music and the bass is a little too prominent for me, a slight nudge further into my ear canal and these ease up on the bass. And when I want more enthusiasm from this range, I pull them out a little bit. No doubt, the kind of ear tips you use can change these up with their tonality a bit, but this has been my experience with the provided ear tips. Once you do have the depth you like, these have a healthy accentuation in the sub-lows, more than it does in the upper lows. So these don't kick you in the back of the neck with its bass, which I like. The lower presence in this range does give these a nice rounded depth in this range, but I can see bass enthusiasts wanting more than this. For me, it's just right. Listening to No Gravity by Zed and Bawa, this range does come across as being more balanced sounding than its upper mids are, but it does handle the lower rumbles with confidence. This tuning does ensure the lower registers don't interfere with the details in the mid and higher frequencies, and I like that EPZ has chosen this kind of tuning to maintain exactly that. So to sum up, on a build front, I really do like how this has been put together. Now, it does remind me a lot of another set of IEMs that I reviewed very recently, especially that faceplate, especially the kind of custom design it's got so that no two IEMs are the same. But I really do like how the housing on the inside has been sort of contoured. I've seen this on slightly more premium IEMs, not in this range, of course, and it certainly is a lot more comfortable than a lot of other IEMs, around this price range. So comfort-wise, I'll give this, absolutely full marks. But what I really do like about the cable is that its termination points do have that metallic end. So a lot of brands I've seen, have like see-through plastic, which it depends on you. You either like it or you don't. I'm okay with those, but I do prefer this. It feels a lot more solid. It feels, more professionally done. It's definitely a very good overall build. And of course, it is sort of metallic, so it does feel cool to the touch. And of course, even the branding that they've sort of got on the auxiliary port is very professionally done. So overall, on the build front, it's definitely very well put together. On a sound front, I really do like how these IEMs sound, but it's that upper mid-range that really throws me off because it's a little too forward. The female vocals or, anything in that range is too forward. Plosives are too accentuated. It's perfectly fine for classical, but if you're listening to something in that range with female vocals, it's like meeting an old aunt at a party who rushes up to you and says, "Hey, do you remember I washed you when you were small?" It's too forward. It doesn't sort of understand that barrier. So very evidently, you do need to EQ this range. At least to my ears, I would have preferred a slight cull in that range. So, if you're open to EQing stuff, go ahead. These are definitely very well detailed IEMs. They stage pretty well for the price that they sit in. And I really also do like the sub-low accentuation. So, these are definitely not tuned like a lot of other IEMs in the market in this price range. And I find that really commendable because EPZ being a newer company is not trying to replicate what other people are doing. They're sticking to their own tuning, and that does say a lot about them. They clearly have their own values, and I'm glad that they are sticking to them. Now, because of that upper mid accentuation, I did find myself moving away from vocals, especially female vocals, and I was leaning more towards a lot of classical music. So there's a lot of music that sounds absolutely beautiful with these IEMs. I'd say these are better matched with instrumental stuff, because things are crisp and clear over there, and the be it violins or whatever exists in that range are not being pelted out with the sort of enthusiasm that a female voice will be pushed out in. So I do prefer it for a lot of instrumental stuff. And male vocals, I think, are just right. They are absolutely beautiful sounding. Josh Totofi singing Never 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 is absolutely enjoyable in this. It comes with you with the slight recess, so it sounds a little further away when you listen to that track. So I leave all the music tracks that I mentioned down in the description below, so give that a listen if you'd like to, of course. But of course, you can sort of play around with the EQ with these IEMs, and you can also pick up different ear tips. And speaking about ear tips, EPZ does have a set of ear tips that they do sell called the EPZ M100, and they come in different sizes. That's right here. So you get your small, mediums, and larges. And the thing I like about these is that, for one, they're very different to other ear tips that I've heard before. Sorry, not heard, but felt. So for one, it's like this completely see-through ear tip, and it's extremely grippy. So in fact, I just lent a friend of mine some IEMs to try out, and his issue was they kept slipping out of his ear because, you know, you get sort of ear sort of oils that, you know, lubricate a ear tip and it starts slipping out because of the force it has. This kind of will sort that out because it's as grippy as it is. It's a very grippy ear tip. It really does hold on to the skin around you. So that is one advantage. And the other advantage also is that it just does change up the tonality a little bit. So I found that it does take away a little bit of depth to a certain extent. Then again, I was pairing it with the Q1 Pro. I've not tried it with anything else just yet. And the detailing with these IEMs does get a little crisper, it does get a little bit sharper, which is quite impressive. I've not really played around too much with ear tips, but I find this to be absolutely amazing. So if you do want to customize your IEMs, whether they're EPZs or not, you can look out for these online, of course. But anyway, all in all, I would say that these IEMs are great value for money. And speaking about price, let's move on to the price. You can pick these up, well, all over, whether you're in India or abroad. But in India, these do have a maximum retail price of about 3,399 rupees. And they have a selling price of anywhere between 2,841 to 3,229. That is because you can get it in a 3.5 mm jack, which is the standard. You can get the same thing with a microphone, and you can get a USB Type-C connector as well. And of course, if you are buying this abroad, you can pick it up for around, I think, $25 to around $30 worth. So all in all, I'd say it's great value for money at this price, especially from a brand that is as new as it is. They're sticking to their guns with tunings. And in fact, I do have a few other EPZ products with me that have been pending for a long time. I think I've upset the folk at EPZ for not reviewing them sooner. But this has made me pretty excited for what the brand has to offer, of course. I think these are great value for money. So if you're somebody who just wants to experience new stuff, new IEMs, see what there is in the market, and you have the budget for this, I'd say it's a great set of IEMs to go for. And also, if you know that you only like listening to classical music, I would not recommend this for anything vocal when it comes to female vocals, but male vocals it does well as instrument. So there you have it. That's my review on the EPZ Q1 Pro, and I do hope that this video has given you a better understanding for these IEMs, and I do hope that it helped you make some sort of purchase decision. If you would like to help support the channel, I'm sure you know exactly how to. But of course, thank you for tuning to Paul's POV for some sound advice. Hey guys, I've not done this before, so I've not been too sure how to go about this. But the guys at EPZ have been kind enough to send me another set of the EPZ Q1 Pro, which is right here with me. And they've asked me to do a giveaway. So because I've not done this before, I really don't know how to do it. So I've just tried something different. So through the review, I've been throwing up a few different icons or a few little pictures, here and there. I'm not going to tell you where they are, but go on ahead, and if you've not seen the whole video, track it down, see what the icons are, and let me know down in the comments. You guys, whoever gets this first is going to get this. So you need to list it out in the proper order, or should I say the proper sequence that they've played out within the video. And the first person who gets this right gets this. So I'm definitely going to leave a comment to let you know how you can get in touch with me if you are the winner, of course. So go on ahead, check it out, let me know the sequence of all these icons that you've seen, and I'll see you in the comments, of course.